Hello, everybody, and welcome to another inspiring episode of FoundersGyan. In case you're tuning in for the first time, FoundersGyan brings the inspiring story of a startup and the founder behind it. This week, we have another great guest on the show. He is Mr. Ganesh Balakrishnan, one of the founders of Momoe.in, that is Momoe.in. Momo is one of the first companies in India and probably around the world that aims to make payments cashless through your mobile. Their aim is to let us shop, eat and commute without carrying any cash and paying through our mobile phones. How super cool is that? Do check out their site at www.momo.in to understand which merchants accept this form of payment. They are currently active in Bangalore and Pune and have plans to expand all over India. Also check out the show notes at www.foundersgyan.com/EP22 to check out all the resources mentioned on the show, as well as foundersgyan.com/top to check out the top 5 listened podcasts on the show. Okay, I think that's enough for an intro. Let's move on with the show now. Ganesh, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to be speaking with you today. A quick brief on Ganesh. He is one of the founders of Momo.in, a startup that helps you do payments via your phone. An IIT Bombay alumni, Ganesh previously worked in various consulting roles and also has had a brief stint as an entrepreneur before Momo as one of the founders of Windsleeve Technologies, a retail technology product company. Ganesh, great to meet you and thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your knowledge, wisdom and time with our listeners. Thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
Thanks a lot, Ram. Great to be here and looking forward to this podcast. And hello, everyone.
Excellent. Ganesh, let's talk a bit about your journey. Can you fill in the blanks from the intro about your journey before Momo? Did I cover everything? Do you want to add something more?
Sure. So, just a little bit about my background. I am a non-techie in a techie world, so to speak. I'm a core mechanical engineer, graduated out of IIT Bombay, went to the US, worked there in a core mechanical firm, set up their engineering center in Bangalore, then did my MBA, and then got into some consulting roles and also did strategic marketing in Honeywell. But primarily looking at intrapreneurial ventures in large corporates. So that's what has been my experience previously. Setting up engineering centers, as I said.
So what's the term?
Intrapreneurial.
Okay.
That means it's a startup kind of a venture, but it is funded by a corporate inside.
Okay.
So they build a team inside of folks who can run a pseudo startup venture, and they fund it internally for a specific purpose, right? So, for example, the engineering center that we started up here in India was to do captive engineering services like CAD/CAM design, solid modeling and stuff like that for the company division in the US. Similarly, in Honeywell, we were running something called Emerging Markets Group, which was basically local products for local markets. So the Honeywell product is priced very high for the Indian market. So we were looking at what is a local need, what is a local solution, and hence what sort of product portfolio we should have here. How should you adapt the existing Honeywell products or build new products for the new market here, right? So those are ventures that were within corporates, but I've always been a pseudo entrepreneur as such, right? And then launched out Windsleeve Technologies before starting up Momo. Momo is about a year and a half old now.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a bit about the origin of Momo. So can you explain in a few sentences what is Momo.in and how did you guys come up with the idea for this?
Sure. So Momo stands for Mobile Money Everywhere. The vision was to do mobile payments in the offline space. What I mean by that is we enable mobile payments when you eat, shop and commute, right? So eat meaning when you go into a restaurant, right? You can actually see your bill live on your phone. You can split the bill with friends at the table and you can pay your own share and leave, right? So that is one of the use cases. Shop meaning you can go to any retail store, grocery store, pharmacy, apparel store, whatever in your neighborhood or in your mall and do mobile payments there. So you can actually sometimes even skip the queue if they deliver to your house, right? You can get the bill on your phone, you just pay and the item gets delivered to your house as well after you finish your shopping. right? And the third is commute. So we do mobile payments in auto rickshaws, where if you see a auto rickshaw with the Momo label, you can actually get in and pay the driver through your mobile directly with his phone number. And you can also pay at Nice Road, so the nice ring road that you have around Bangalore, you can actually pay the toll in a cashless manner. You don't even have to remove your phone. You just pre-door your wallet and link your vehicle number to it, and the payment gets deducted automatically when you drive through, right? Those are the kind of things we do.
Okay, brilliant. And how did you guys come up with the idea for this in the first place?
Sure. So one of the big challenges we used to have as individuals was after shopping, right? Shopping is a great experience. You go out with family, you go out with friends, you're going out and dining, all that stuff, and you're enjoying yourselves. But once your job is over, which is my basket is full, or I've chosen the clothes that I wanted, or I finished my meal, is when this payment thing happens, right? Payment is an activity where you have to shell out your own hard-earned money, and not only that, you have to wait in line to pay. As far as I'm concerned, I've shopped, man. I've enjoyed myself. I just need to leave once I'm done. Why should I stand in line because somebody else is not good at doing their job of collecting payments from me, right? So that was the thought. How do we ease the payment process? So that was the genesis of the idea. And we started with restaurants where we said, live bill, if we show the bill to you right from the beginning, you can pay whenever you want. Similarly, in grocery stores, you can just leave your basket at the counter, go home, and the guy will send the items to you and you can actually pay with your phone. So that was the thought of easing the checkout process, not just supplementing a cash or a card with a mobile, but also easing the checkout process. So that was the thought.
Okay, excellent. Now, just want to go a bit more deeper into this. So now, is this a different wallet, or what's the technology behind Momo? Can you explain in layman terms how it works?
Sure. So Momo is not a wallet. Momo is a connector between the consumers on one side who use the app and the merchants on the other side who accept Momo payments, right? We actually integrate into the billing system of the merchant, right? Which is how you can see your itemized bill on your phone. On the other side, for the consumer, we open up any mode of payment. So you can pay with credit card, you can pay with debit card, you can pay with net banking. You can also pay with multiple wallets. So right now we've just launched HDFC PayZapp wallet. We've launched MobiKwik, Ola Money and ICICI Bank will come soon. So there are multiple modes of payment which you can use to pay. We are not restricting you in terms of paying only with a card or a wallet. Choose whichever mode you want to pay and we will enable that payment.
Okay. So in layman's terms, it's a mobile payment gateway. Is that?
That's it, pretty much. Mobile payment gateway for the offline space. We don't do online PG. We do only for offline. We are focused on offline.
Okay, excellent. Now for budding founders listening out there, can you give us some tips on how we can come up with a good idea like this?
Sure. Every good idea, so to speak, hinges on a pain point, right? Look around you. There are a million places where people have trouble, right? That's a pain. If you can identify a good pain point, that's the genesis of a good idea. Once you identify a good pain point, then figure out whether that pain point is applicable to millions of people. Or figure out if it's a B2C idea, it's millions of people. If it's a B2B idea, if it's a business idea, then look at if the same pain point is faced by multiple businesses.
Right.
That is a quick market sizing for you on how critical is this pain point and how many people really need a solution for this pain point. And then ideate on solutions that can solve the pain point. That's the simplistic process of getting to an idea. There are places where you can actually go and do stuff like this as well. So for example, in 50 hours is a weekend hackathon kind of thing, where it enables you to come up with ideas, brainstorm with people, and actually build a prototype as a solution as well. So stuff like that you can do.
Cool. So I think that's great. Now you touched on one side of the solution, which is the idea. The other side is obviously making the idea into a reality, right? So a good idea is worth nothing unless you act on it and come up with a solution. So maybe you can take your own case and tell us what did you do in order to make your idea into a reality?
Sure. 2 or 3 things. One, as I said, once you have an idea, you need to really figure out whether that idea is a genuine pain point for multiple people, right? So we went on a drive. We came up with this idea sometime in end of December 2013, right? So December 2013 to February 2014, we actually went out and met as many merchants as we could and as many customers as we could who went to these merchants, right? Just go and walk into a restaurant, talk to people, talk to the manager, talk to the owner, and try to figure out what are the pain points that they have associated with it. And turned out that getting, the payment process done after the food is over, and splitting the bill is a huge pain, right? So these are things that we identified as genuine pain points. At the same time, when we talked to the merchants, they had a huge issue with the waiter actually spending 20 to 25% of his time running between the table and the cashier. Right? He needs to get the bill, he needs to get the swipe machine, he needs to enter the PIN, he needs to go and get the reconciliation, put it in a folder, give it to you. Multiple runs, right?
Right.
At that time, if you can save it, and he can actually go and serve the next customer better.
Yeah, they're serving the customer as waiters, like primary.
That's upside revenue for him, right? If you can recommend another dish for the person, that's what his core job is, instead of running between the cashier and you.
Right.
So especially in the pubs and stuff like that, during weekends it was a critical problem for them. Customers were shouting, waiters weren't able to serve them properly, huge issue, right? This actually eased a pain point on both sides. Also, if you talk to a merchant, very simple stuff, right? Who is your most valuable customer? If the customer has not come back in the last 1 month, can you bring him back? Right. These are questions that they have no answer to. So a simple CRM and analytics that we have built as a solution for merchants actually enables them to increase their business by getting customers back through offers, through loyalty programs and stuff like that, which are in their own area, in the 2 kilometer radius itself, right? So they know that those customers will come back to them.
Right. Yeah, so coming back to the question, so you went on a drive for about 2 months. You understood that this is a
pain point.
Real problem,
exactly.
Real pain point. And so what did you do next? I mean, did you come up with a prototype? I mean,
yes.
What was the next step?
So the next step was actually engineering a solution for it. So between February and March, we actually drew up simple prototypes on pieces of paper and prototyped it on POP. POP is a simple app prototyping software. Just drew up those prototypes, went back to the same merchants and customers and said, hey, here is a solution for your pain point. Is this something that you would like using, right? And a lot of people, so if a merchant or a consumer, when testing your solution, says, yeah, it's okay, it's good, not a great idea. If he responds saying, hey, when can you give this to me? I want to do this now. How much will you charge me for it? Right? Those are questions that say that these guys are interested beyond just saying, हाँ ठीक है, देखा जाएगा, right? So that criticality is when you need to gauge. That's a fine line. You need to understand through multiple conversations on whether it is critical. Once we got that there is criticality, we signed up 3 merchants and we said from day one, we will never give it free. You will always have to pay for it, right? So we actually built a pricing structure. We signed up agreements with them and then we went and developed the product. So between March and June, we developed a small prototype. We launched it in 3 merchants who had signed up with us with a small, MVP, they call it, minimum viable product. Right? It was a basic version of it, both on the server side and the app side. And then we iterated on that back and forth between June and August, right? And built a complete solution in August, which you could potentially take to the market. So August onwards is when the app formally launched.
Okay, excellent. Now, how many merchants is that the correct term?
Yeah.
How many merchants use your solution right now?
So there are more than 2,000 merchants in Bangalore. Half of them are restaurants. Then there are grocery stores, spas, salons, pharmacies, apparel stores, gyms, scooter service centers, right? Toll roads, all that stuff. Total, we have about 2,000 merchants in Bangalore and about 200 merchants in Pune.
Okay, great. Now, let's move on to a bit of a personal question. So, we all hear about founders sacrificing family time to make their ventures a success. Can you tell us a bit more about your own family and how you manage to balance business and family?
There is no balance, unfortunately. I have to tell you the truth. So I have a wife I've been married to for 11 years now and a daughter who is 4 years old. And it is tough, right? When we set out on the entrepreneurial journey, my daughter was less than a year old. And my wife was on a maternity break and she had not even joined the job. So it was a very tough decision personally to get into the entrepreneurship space. But surprisingly, our family was completely supportive, including my parents, her parents as well. And of course, she's always been a pillar of support. Basically, the conversation was, I'm going to write off the next 3 years of my life. You're not going to see me ever. Are you okay with that? And can we do this? You might have to join a job to, support the family if I am not able to make money. Right. Is that something that you would be able to do? And surprisingly, the answer was yes, an overwhelming yes. And she said, hey, it's a good time for you to actually go out and do what you like to do instead of getting stuck in a corporate job. So the right time to head out and do this, and seems like you've got the right partners to help you on the journey. So why don't you take off and try it out? Let's see what happens, right? And that's how it took off. And true to my word, it's been 2 years and I've not seen my family.
Okay. So
we work 6 days a week, almost 14 hours a day.
Okay.
But it has been very fulfilling as a startup journey.
Okay.
And Sundays are usually busier than my startup week, because Sunday is a day that I have with family and I have to pack the entire time that I devote to the family in one day.
Right.
So we end up doing something or the other, going out or, sitting at home and doing some interesting activities, or going to the local community fairs and stuff like that.
Right.
And at least spending some quality time in that sense. If not quantity, at least spend quality. That's been the...
Right. So your advice would be, it's tough, but spend quality time with your family when you can, right?
Absolutely.
That should kind of...
Whenever you
can't balance it out, but kind of help out in you spending so much time away from family, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I know a lot of founders, in fact, who actually take between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. off. They go home, 6 to 9 they spend time with family, but after 9 p.m. when they go to bed is when they start up working again. Right. And then in the mornings they head off to the office just like everybody else.
Right.
So they have that additional time after 9 p.m. but they shut off between 6 and 9.
Okay.
So you can play around with your time available for family.
Right.
But yes, your family has to be supportive of what you're doing. Otherwise, it's a tough journey.
Right. Okay. Excellent.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
If you like this show, do follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The link is www.facebook.com/FoundersGyan and twitter.com/FoundersGyan. Both these provide you daily tips and articles as well as resources to help and inspire your startup. There are multiple tips per day. Some examples of these tips would be articles on the latest startups, growth hacking tips, how do you build team for startups, how to get funding, etc. So don't forget facebook.com/FoundersGyan and twitter.com/FoundersGyan.
Now, you mentioned about your co-founders a bit. So can you talk a bit more about your co-founders and how you met them?
Sure. So we have 5 co-founders. It's a largish co-founding group.
Okay.
And all of us have had experience with corporate before. We've had enough exposure to the working community, working world before we actually started up as entrepreneurs. We met people along the way. So Utkarsh, who is the CEO of Momo, used to be with me in IIT Bombay when we were in college. And 15 years later, I met him in Honeywell, where we were part of the same emerging markets group, as I said. Nilesh was also part of the same group. He's the head of sales now. Then Karthik used to work with me in Bain. He's the head of operations and investor relations here. And Ashraf was a friend of a friend who got introduced. He's the technology head. He's the CTO. So people who we've known either from our friends network or from our professional network are the people who I decided to start out with.
Okay.
And so the basic concept of having a co-founder is actually gelling with the person in terms of implicit trust. Right? Ultimately, it's like a marriage. You might have heard this cliche a long time before, but it's basically that. You're spending your waking life with this team, and you should be able to implicitly trust them. Right? That is the core of having a founding team together, and you should work together seamlessly. Also, the other thing that helped with our team, even though it's a large team, what we really have is complementary roles. Each of us handles a different function, a different responsibility in Momo. Of course, we help out each other. Without that, startups don't work.
Right.
But all of us had clearly defined responsibilities right from the beginning. So that really helped in keeping the team camaraderie together in that sense.
Okay, excellent. Now, is there a morning or daily ritual that you follow? Can you share it with myself and our listeners?
I'm an evening guy actually. I'm not very much of a morning guy.
So is there an evening ritual that you follow?
So typically in a startup, there is no ritual that you can follow. We pretty much respond to what the demands are. But 2 or 3 things that we do and make sure we have a point to do. So I had consumer marketing, right? So it is very critical for us to understand what's happening on the ground level. So at least once a week, we go out as a team, the entire marketing team. We go out to our merchant locations, it'd be a restaurant or a retail store, and actually see how people are using Momo. Even talk to customers and get feedback about what the experience has been and what other things we can do to improve. Right. So these are similar things we do. Along with this, we also do something called collateral refreshes. So we actually put up Momo accepted here kind of collaterals, 10 cards, standees, stickers, posters, right? All those things we go and distribute across different places. The other thing we used to do, which we still do every now and then, is actually attend to customer support calls. So the people are assigned, so 3 or 4 people are assigned every day to actually receive the calls. So we know as an entire team what the pulse of the customer is and what issues they're facing on the ground, so we can actually improve the product on a day-to-day basis. So this is typically what we do.
Okay, excellent. Now, can you tell us about something? Can you tell us something about yourself that is not commonly known?
Wow, that's a googly. So one of the things that people don't know about me is I'm a little bit of an adventure freak. So stuff like bungee and skydiving and parasailing and stuff like that really excites me quite a bit. Been to bunch of whitewater rafting expeditions across the board. Surprising part is I don't know how to swim. And scuba diving as well. The funny part is I don't know how to swim. So yeah, just going and experiencing different stuff is the adventure streak. And yeah, me and my wife, every now and then we just get out and do something crazy.
Okay, great. That's great to hear. And now, what is the best advice somebody has given you, or alternatively, best advice you have heard?
Couple of things that I've heard, especially when we were running the previous startup, which didn't go so well, and we were planning to shut it down. We spoke to a lot of advisors on what we should do and stuff like that. 2 or 3 things we heard. One, once you know that your idea is not working, implicitly
right.
Even though your heart says no, they should work.
Right.
Somewhere, based on what's happening outside, you get a feeling that this is not going to work.
Right.
That's the instinct that you get, the gut feeling. Once you have that gut feeling, unless you act upon it and figure out whether that is really true, you might start living a life of delusion rather than perseverance. Right. So that was one advice that we got very clearly. So we actually did that. Once we understood basically that there's something wrong, that it's not being accepted, we actually went out and figured out why it is not being accepted and whether we can do something to change it. Turned out that we could not do anything to change it. Right? So that was very good advice given at the right time, which is when we could decide that, okay, so shelve this for now, we might come back to it at a later date, but let's do something else. Right? That was one. Second, when it comes to co-founders, a lot of people say, and even employees, right? A lot of people say, invest in the person, not in the skill. We did not really understand, because in corporate, typically you hire for a skill, you don't hire for a personality. But what we have found here in our team is that as long as the willingness to learn and the attitude is there, right? Skill is something that can be learned. It's very easy. If you have the willingness to do it, you can do anything. When I started out as a marketing head for consumer marketing, I had no idea about what consumer marketing was, right? Hire the right people, get the team on board, and then go and execute. You will learn along the way, you will make mistakes. But yeah, at the end of the day, as long as you improve on your mistakes and you are willing to learn, that's what matters ultimately. So we've had a lot of people who have great talent, but don't have the right attitude, and they have not been, unfortunately, able to stick with our company. Just because the attitude wasn't there.
Right.
And we found a lot of people who came in with completely different skill sets. They came in for a tech profile, but they're doing a sales role, or vice versa. Just because they had the attitude, and they said, hey, this is a startup, this is my own company, let me go and contribute and grow in the process. That is what matters. Attitude is more important than skill, is what I would say.
Brilliant piece of advice. I'm sure our listeners would love it. Now, I'm loving it. Now, we all know that startups come with a lot of pressure. So, can you give us some tips on how we can handle pressure when things aren't going so well?
That's when co-founders really help. What you really need when there is situations of high pressure is somebody to vent, right? Somebody who can hear you out, somebody who can even help you solve the problem, somebody who you can, lean on, so to speak. Even when you're feeling low, the startup journey is very cyclical. One fine day you will be on the top of the world, and immediately the next day one of the contracts may not be signed, or one of the big leads that you want may not happen,
right.
And you will be a complete state of shock as to what happened, and you will start seeing, hey, is this going anywhere or not? So you start having a lot of self-doubt,
right.
Which is when you need a lot of people to talk to, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be your own co-founders, to pick you up and say, no, dude, dust it off, try again, it will happen, right? So that under crisis and under pressure, those kind of things really help. Even mentors. So we have a lot of mentors and advisors that we go and talk to in the startup ecosystem, as well as people who are experienced in the domain in payments, to actually give us some advice on how they have seen it evolve in other places, how did other people solve such problems, and any help that they can provide in addressing the crisis at hand.
Okay, brilliant advice again. So thanks a lot for that. Now, we just have a few more questions. So,
sure.
Can you tell us about your worst entrepreneurial moment and how did you turn it around, and the lessons you learned from that experience?
Sure. I'll tell you something about Momo itself.
Right.
I wouldn't say it was the worst entrepreneurial moment, because my worst entrepreneurial moment was the previous startup that didn't work.
Right. So you didn't turn it around.
I didn't turn it around, exactly. So I would talk about something that is turned around. One of the things that we noticed once we got into the tech product space was that a lot of people were doing digital marketing, right? Advertising on Facebook, advertising on Twitter, advertising on Google, on apps with people like InMobi,
right.
All that stuff, right? Laddu, Free Paisa, a bunch of apps out there,
right,
which actually do incentivized downloads as well, right?
Right.
And that was a huge hue and cry, hullabaloo out there saying, hey, why aren't we doing digital? We started out with 10 cards on tables and people going and talking to other people to explain our concept, but at some point in time we said, hey, maybe we should do this digital marketing thing. Everybody is doing it, why don't we do it? And we spent a lot of money trying to get downloads digitally, trying to get customers to download the app and register on the app and then go use it digitally. Unfortunately, even till date, except for a couple of campaigns, a lot of them have not translated into good results for us. It has been very expensive. At the same time, it has not translated to good results. And it is surprising, right? Because everybody who has an app will tell you have to go digital.
Right.
No other way.
Right.
It was really surprising for us. And we, for a long time, could not figure out why. Then we went on the ground and actually spoke to people who downloaded from digital and tried to figure out what happened, right? Here's the deal. Since we are accepted offline, right? Where you download the app, if you see it on Facebook, is probably when you're in the office or at home. You're not at a restaurant, right? So until, not only do you have to pay to get the guy to download the app, which is at home, but also we have to pay to retarget you to move to the restaurant where Momo is being accepted, right? So that's double the cost for me, right? So a download that happens at home doesn't really give me anything, as opposed to if you download Make My Trip or Book My Show at home, I can immediately book a ticket.
Correct.
But unless you download Momo and use it at a place which is offline, you cannot, get a quality download in that sense, right?
Correct.
So that did not work for us.
Correct.
Then we said, so digital is not working. What is the best way to scale? What is the best way to get more people to download it without actually sending thousands of people on the ground to talk to customers? What we found was that referrals worked really well. So we actually have a referral program in the app where a customer who is on Momo can refer another friend of theirs, and if they use Momo, both of them get referral bonuses, right? That really helped a lot, because people who are genuinely liking our product were referring their friends, and their friends were coming on board, and they were also being explained by the referrer on what the product was and how cool it was, right?
Right.
So it was a very high quality download for us. In spite of the referral cost being high, the fact that the customer who we got was a quality download helped us a lot, right? So that was the big turnaround for us. So now we do a lot of radio campaigns for people to get aware of what Momo is.
Right.
A lot of presence at our outlets that says Momo accepted here, so that you can recall, hey, I heard this on the radio, let me try it out. And a lot of referrals. So those three things work for us as a marketing initiative.
Okay, excellent. That's really a good story to hear. Now, let's retouch a bit on the revenue model of Momo. So, what's the revenue model and what's the future you envision for your company?
Sure. We are in the very early stages of mobile payments, not just in India, but across the world. Right? Our vision of mobile payments is really, it's mobile payments now, but cashless payments is what the vision is. The intent is to go to a point where we are completely replacing cash as a mode to pay. Just do cashless payments wherever you go, right? Your mobile is your device of choice right now. And there are studies that say that you miss your phone within the first 10 minutes of misplacing it, whereas you miss your wallet now probably on an average of 3 hours after you misplace it. So your phone is that much more critical to you as a device. It might be a wearable watch, Android watch tomorrow, for example, or it could be something implanted in your brain. I don't know what it will be tomorrow, but eventually it should be as simple as, just think about it and it should be paid, right? So that's the vision of cashless payments that we want to drive towards. What is the revenue model of Momo? Very simple. We charge the merchants a transaction fee for every mobile payment that they accept, right? So from the merchant side, there is zero cost. So they don't have to buy an expensive swipe machine, a card swipe machine. They also pay maintenance charges for that. So we have zero upfront cost. We have zero maintenance cost. The payment is only on a transaction. So both of us are incentivized to get the customer to pay at their outlet, right? And the payment is only on transaction. And there is also a marketing charge. So every time they want to reach out to a customer in their local radius with an offer or something, we charge on the marketing fees. So those are the two things we charge.
Okay. And just a quick question on the transaction charges for the merchant. Is it as competitive as using, let's say, a credit card? So is it like as competitive or cheaper? How does it work?
It's a little more expensive than the credit card. So in the payment industry, there are two things. One is called a card present transaction, where there's a physical card which you enter the PIN in that swipe machine. There is a card not present transaction, which is a virtual transaction, which is what we do, which is what online payments does. So typically online payments or card not present transactions are more expensive because there is an additional layer of security that you need to go through, which is a infrastructure that is in place. Hence, you have to pay more money.
Right.
But in return, we give, as I said, consumer analytics to the merchant at no additional cost, which actually tells them that.
And you also don't have to pay for a device.
Absolutely. So there is no upfront cost. So you can actually do the math and figure out that we are on an average year basis, we are actually cheaper than the swipe machine. Okay,
brilliant. Now, are there any books or resources that you can recommend for our budding entrepreneurs?
Interesting question. So I tend to read a lot more fiction than non-fiction in that sense, in books. But I read a lot of blogs. So the Y Combinator founders blogs are beautiful. Definitely highly recommended to anybody who wants to understand what startup world is all about. We actually got a lot of help from the Y Combinator blog itself on how to structure equity, how to structure ESOPs, how to talk to venture capitalists on funding. Right, so beautiful articles that they've written. Paul Graham, Sam Altman, and also the Y Combinator blog itself is very useful. We are big fans of Guy Kawasaki. Art of the Start is his book. Highly recommended read. And also listen to his YouTube videos. Amazing guy. And he's the head of Canva right now. Cool. And really inspiring to listen to his speeches. The Peter Thiel book 0 to 1 is very good. those are things that we actually follow on the ground.
Brilliant.
The lean startup concept is something that we follow on the ground as well. Not to the letter, but at least we have that mindset in implementing in a startup. Very useful for all entrepreneurs if you want to get on the ground.
Okay, brilliant. We'll link up all those on the show notes. Now, Momo's close to 2 years old.
Yeah.
And we all know that hindsight is 2020, but if there's one thing that you would do different while starting this up, what would it be?
In hindsight, I would, as I said, I may not blow so much money on digital marketing. I might do it a little more professionally, but those are mistakes we learn from. The other thing is the payments ecosystem actually evolves with partnerships, right? So we are actually now tying up with banks, we are tying up with other wallets, we are tying up with merchant aggregators, right, to expand our business. So there are a lot of partnerships involved. I would rather start doing those partnerships earlier than I have done right now. The sooner those partnerships are going, the better it is and more scalable your solution is in that sense, right? So those are things that we are very open to right now, which we could have been a lot earlier.
Okay, brilliant. Now, how can our listeners get in touch with you? What are you most active on? LinkedIn, Twitter? Do you have a blog? What's the best way to reach out to you?
LinkedIn is quite active. So people can reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Facebook as well. I'm quite active on Facebook. So anybody wants to reach out, they can just message me any of these places. Send me a LinkedIn request or whatever and I'll accept it within like a couple of days. That's typically how I look at it. Unfortunately, I'm not very active on a blog yet. Work in progress, but yeah.
Twitter, you don't have a Twitter handle?
I have a Twitter handle, Ganesh B78. And on Facebook, you can just search for Ganesh Balakrishnan Momo and I'll pop up. On LinkedIn as well, so that should not be a problem. Twitter, again, not very active, but yeah, if you send me a message there, I can respond within 24 hours typically. So that's how it goes.
Okay, brilliant. So there's just one final question, but before we move on to that, I just want to take the time to acknowledge and thank you for sharing your knowledge to myself and our listeners. I'm also very grateful for the value you are adding into the world by means of your startup. So with that, we'll move on to the final question. So if there's one Gyan that you could give our would-be founders, what would that be?
If you want to start up, just start up, man. Don't wait. I've seen a lot of people in corporates just hating themselves for the job that they're doing and really got good concepts in their head but just too afraid to go out and implement them. Guess what? There is no bad time to start up. Utkarsh is 42, I'm 37, the youngest founder Karthik is 30 right now. I have a lot of friends who are 23, 24 who have started up. There is no wrong time to start up. There is no too late concept of starting up. If you like what you have a thought on and if you think you can make it a business, go ahead and do it. That would be my one advice that I give to anybody.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Ganesh, thank you so much for your time and it was a real pleasure chatting with you and wish you continued success in your future.
Hey, thank you very much, Ram. This was a great podcast and hoping to hear from your listeners on any questions or any things that they might want to connect on. Glad to be on the show and good luck to you and good luck to all the founders out there.
Thank you.
There you have it, folks. Another inspiring story of a founder. I do hope you enjoyed it. Do share it with your friends if you liked what you hear. The link is FoundersGyan.com/EP22. There are nifty share icons there to share it via all sorts of social media. Also, you can just share the URL via email. Please do subscribe to the show via Mixcloud or iTunes, and a review would be much appreciated. Again, the show notes page FoundersGyan.com/EP22 contains details of all these links. I'll see you all next week with yet another startup and founder. In the meantime, you do know what this show is meant to do. It is to inspire you to start up, so please do take action today on your own venture. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll speak to you all next week.